essentially this language is you'll get the same group and health dental insurance that it's other employees, it's all other employees, which we have with everybody, all other labor unions and all our employees. That was the first change. Second one, the more important one, I believe, is the wages. We offer, and it's a 2-year agreement.
What page now?
33. For fiscal year 2014-15, bargaining unit employees who are on the payroll at the final date of ratification agreement will receive a 3% general pay increase, and an additional 0.5% will be added to the general increase for fiscal 14-15 to help offset any increase in insurance to provide an article excess insurance. These increases shall be effective the date the general increase was effective for general employees for fiscal year 2014-15. I believe, if my memory's right, that's September 27th. It was effective for all the other employees. So it would be retro back to the date they got it, and I believe that date was the 27th of September. It's one of those dates. We also raised, since we didn't raise the minimum last year, we raised the minimum this year to this and there. And like I said, the 0.5% was put in there to offset any insurance, which we told you all along. We probably anticipate this year $10 in just the premiums, not the co-pays and not the deductible that the premiums were anticipating.
What was the
for all employees?
What was the percent of the starting wage increase?
3.5. All of these would go. What do you mean?
They're all. I've seen the number changes, but they're jumping up at 3% or the
3.5.
3.5.
They all should be 3.5. The 3, but then it's really a 3.5.
For the first year.
But it was initially a 3, but there was also an additional 0.5% put on because if there's any insurance increase, and we told y'all way back months ago that we're anticipating this year that the premiums would go up $10 bi-weekly. Yeah. So that was put in there to help offset any of that increase. And it's a 2-year agreement. So the second year would be for fiscal 15-16. Bargaining employees shall receive a 3% general pay increase effective September 26, 2015. Then we put a Me Too in. If all non-bargaining unit employees or any bargaining unit is given an across-the-board general pay increase greater than 3%, the unit will be offered the additional amount of 3%. In addition, what we did is try to address some compression with the employees who've been here who never received a merit increase. And we found that by looking at it, we had employees up to about 9 years that affected. So what we did is that employees who had 3 to 5 years in the position of deputy, whose base pay is 3.14% above the minimum of the pay range, will receive an additional 1% to address compression. So they get the 3%, you've been here 3 to 5 years, and you're 6.14 above the minimum, is less than above the minimum, then you would receive that. Then employees of 6 or more years in the position of deputy whose base pay is less than 6.14 above the minimum of the pay range will receive an additional 1.5% increase to address compression. So they'd get 3.5 and 1.5. And this is addressing those employees to put some kind of spread between those who started last year and those who started up to 9 years ago. We have a couple, not many that 9 years, but there's a few 9. The vast majority are in between, or in the 3 to 5 years, 6 years, 7 years range, because we went up to about 8 years. So you have those. Then we said employees who have 3 to 5 years in the position of sergeant whose base pay is less than 3.03 above the minimum of the pay range will receive an additional 1% to address compression. And employees of 6 or more years in the position of sergeant whose base pay is less than 3.03 above the minimum of the pay range will receive 1.5 to address compression. And the minimums won't increase for that year. That went up, so we won't increase the minimum, increase the max. So that way we don't, again, cause people coming in the door making the same. So you might ask, how do we come up with that? Well, what we did is we looked at those who didn't receive merit. And if you tried to give anything more than that, you started bypassing people who received a merit.
That was going to be my question.
That's how it came up. And the reason 6.14 is last year, the minimum didn't go up, but people got 3%, and this year they got 3, and it's 6. But when we really looked at the vast majority, we said, where does this vast majority sit? 6.14. That's how we came up with it. I said, try to address those who didn't get a merit. So they're not making the same 7, 8 years later, and like I said, there's a couple that's 9 years. For whatever reason, they started and on probation or something. We didn't go in and look at every single reason why. But there was a couple. If they never got a merit, they didn't make the same as somebody who just came in the door this past year. That was what we tried to do. The next change, that's on that, and then the next one they're getting now just to date changes. On page 53 is the limitation of negotiations. Again, it just tells the date you open the agreement. They're just date changes. They're just always in the agreement. You've seen these before if you have any questions. And then the last one is page 62 is the term of the agreement. The term is again a 2 years, effective back to 14, October 1, and it's good through September 30th, 2016.